Hello everybody, how's it going? Welcome back to Cosmic Culture, the channel where we talk all things major movie and television news, theories, breakdowns, and much more. I'm your host Chris, and today I have an interesting video for you. I'm breaking down a few different theories, putting them into one awesome video. I'm calling it 3 Ways Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness Can Finish. There are a lot of things about this movie we're starting to learn every single day. From cameos to appearances, confirmed characters like Patrick Stewart, who has now self-confirmed himself to be in the film, probably playing Professor X and maybe even playing Professor X from the Fox universe. And many other plot details, leaks that have come out. We know certain details about this film. Something we know absolutely nothing about, and I say this as someone who's talked to people who have insider information and reading all of the plot leaks and details that are out there. We, as a community, know nothing about the ending of Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. So it's time to put together some ideas and theories as to what exactly it is we could be in for on this wild ride that jumps from multiverse to multiverse, introduces characters, cameos, reappearances, and much more. So let's jump into the 3 ways I think we'll see Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness end. Be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and later on today, guys, we're going to have a live Batman, spoilers included, chat, so don't miss out on that as a part of Culture Catch-Up, our weekly live podcast where we talk about your guys' favorite topics from the week. So I think there are a lot of things in this video that will kind of need to go without saying, but I'm going to go ahead and explain them just so we can move into the theorizing part. For example, there are a few ways that obviously Doctor Strange is going to end. I don't think Doctor Strange is going to die, and I don't think Wanda is going to die. I also don't think she's going to have her kids. But the first one on the list is the multiverse remains open. It remains in madness. This is what I think a big ending for the movie will be, is an explanation that the multiverse is now an integral part of the MCU. The sacred timeline that from the times of Iron Man through Endgame has been where everything has happened. But in Loki, we were able to see other multiverses exist, other variants of characters exist. And at the end of the Loki series, we saw He Who Remains was killed, and the multiverse had kind of blown into a little bit of craziness. Now, the exact parameters of the multiverse have not been explained to us quite yet. Although we understand how the TVA works, how He Who Remains reality was working, that's all gone now, and Kang the Conqueror seemingly was in charge of a version of the TVA at the very end of the Loki series. So the ideology that the Multiverse of Madness ends with an open multiverse seems to be one of the more likely options. By specifics, I mean that the multiverse will remain an important part moving forward in new movies and shows. So Loki Season 2 will directly be affected by what we are going to be seeing here, and the adverse conflict within the MCU, including potential big bads down the road and other interesting inclusions, will all be directly affected by the opening of the multiverse. So there's room for more characters to make way from other universes we know and don't know, such as the Fox universe or the Defender series from the Netflix movies. These can all make way into the main timeline by the remaining of the opening of the multiverse that is in madness at the moment and maybe could have a little bit of control. Movies like Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, Spider-Man No Way Home, and TV shows like Loki and WandaVision have opened up the idea and explanation of what the multiverse is, and by the end of Multiverse of Madness, we could have rules and parameters for how the multiverse works. Because up to this point, we don't actually have those detailed rules as to what exactly the multiverse is capable of, what it can change, where even necessarily it could exist, and how the navigation of it will be important moving into the future of the MCU. Which directly brings us to the biggest question: is the multiverse going to be important in the future of the MCU, or beyond Multiverse of Madness, or maybe Loki Series 2? Which also brings us to ending number 2. The multiverse could become closed. That means something very specific. I mean that by the end of Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, the understanding of what the multiverse is and what it's capable of becomes harnessed by the Illuminati, by Doctor Strange, and the company involved in the movie. And for these reasons, Doctor Strange and others decide to seal the multiverse from being accessed. This is a very possible option, which is what makes the cameos that will show up in Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness very important, because this is the opportunity for those characters, such as Deadpool or some of the other Fox characters, if they decide to bring them over, to make that leap. I don't think the entirety of the Fox universe, in fact, I'm almost certain the entirety of the Fox universe is not making the jump over to the MCU. Marvel, Disney, they want to create their own mutant storyline, their own X-Men with their own characters, and they want it to be fresh. But we know the introduction of characters and variants of characters is an important part of Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, maybe for the reason that there won't be another opportunity necessarily to access the multiverse, because at the end of Doctor Strange, the Illuminati and Doctor Strange will figure out a way to seal each multiverse within its own lines. This will give us exactly what we need and nothing more. It keeps the multiverse from being a cheap loophole that Disney and Marvel can use to grab characters, to bring characters back to life, to get different tools and items as they need it, and it requires them to write more based stories with information and just overall good storylines. I think grabbing everything from the multiverse is just a little cheap and easy, and while the multiverse is in madness, let's get Deadpool over, let's do all of those things, let's introduce the Fox X-Men so they can become a canon part of the MCU and still not exist within the MCU. For me, this is one of the coolest ways to end Doctor Strange because it makes the multiverse have a purpose and it doesn't demean its ability and its power for storytelling. But it is going to be something that requires a lot of explanation, a lot of details, and a lot of powerful characters, which we will be seeing with the Illuminati, even though there are heavy rumors that maybe Wanda is going to wipe them all out in a fiery rage, and we may have even seen clips of this in the trailer, but I do believe there will still be very capable characters remaining after this big fight scene, who will have the power with Doctor Strange to maybe say, you know what, each multiverse deserves to exist on its own, regardless of He Who Remains, regardless of the TVA closing down these multiversal lines. And that, in itself, will be something very exciting to see as the MCU continues on to fight other big bads like Celestials or Galactus, and that's going to have to be dealt with as well somewhere down the line. And this brings me to the final idea, what could happen at the end of Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. And of course, it's the craziest one. We get left on a major cliffhanger. And Marvel's well known for doing this, teasing insane things, showing us big bads, giving us wordage and visuals that really change everything and bring it to the next level. I think they could do this with Kang the Conqueror, who we know is coming, and we know will be an important part of both Loki Season 2 and Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania, where he's going to be getting his first real appearance in the MCU. After all, it is called Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, and that does not mean that by the end of the movie it will be not madness anymore. So this major cliffhanger where we see Kang is coming, or we see the repercussions of messing with the multiverse, or maybe whatever it is that has been possessing and messing with Wanda throughout this entire time is let free, and now roams the multiverse seeking to devour whatever life source it wants to for its own power and gain. This would be an incredible and huge finale for an already gigantic film. Recently, we've been talking a lot about what exactly Kang the Conqueror's role would be if he was involved in Multiverse of Madness. I think we've seen and heard from He Who Remains there are tons of different versions of this character, some of them who are pretty good and some of them who are kinda bad. It's possible we could see a Kang the Conqueror variant in the multiversal lineup, the Illuminati protecting the multiverse from other versions of himself and other dangers. But this would be a variant character who doesn't look like Jonathan Majors, who isn't the Kang the Conqueror, who we're going to be getting a first introduction to in Ant-Man and the Wasp. This would be a completely different character who might even end up getting destroyed or killed by Wanda, and this will lead eventually to our Kang the Conqueror running rampant and taking over, which we're going to get a lot more familiar with in Quantumania. Something we don't necessarily understand is how does the quantum realm compare to the craziness of the multiverse? Does every multiverse have its own quantum realm, or does quantum realm exist outside of time and space, including other multiverses? Do all multiverses connect to one quantum realm? These are all questions we don't have answers to, and hopefully we might get a little indication of that in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, especially if we get option 3, major cliffhanger, leading into Kang the Conqueror in subsequent movie Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, and then obviously in Loki Season 2, where Loki will be trying to clean up his mess as well. All of these arrows point towards Kang the Conqueror because he really is the future villain of the MCU at the moment. He may not be the big Thanos level villain, but he's also capable of being that mischievous, that evil. He's one of the smartest characters in Marvel Comics lore and has the capability to destroy thousands and millions and billions of lives, much like what we saw with Thanos. So if the multiverse at the end of the movie Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness remains in madness and we get that major cliffhanger where we have an information leading to Ant-Man, leading to Loki and other future films, well, we can start getting really excited for the big movies coming forward, like team-up movies, the Avengers, the Thunderbolts maybe, Young Avengers, what other groups we might need to see in order to defeat this evil. If we see a demonic possession of Wanda released into the MCU, well, we might need the Midnight Suns in order to capture and control that. And it's very possible we might have several different big bads, from Kang the Conqueror to Galactus, all the way through to, dare I say the words, Mephisto or Cthulhu. These are all options moving forward, as we do have a large array of heroes, teams, and individuals capable of protecting the MCU, the sacred timeline, Marvel Universe as we currently know it and understand it. One thing is for certain, the end of Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness has serious implications for the future of Marvel. I'm not even talking Phase 4, 5, or 6, I'm talking overall, the entire future of everything we know, because the multiverse, it is a game changer. It absolutely can change everything. We just have to see how crazy Marvel wants to go with it, and where they want to leave us at the very end. So for me, those are the three big headlines. How does Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness end? The closed multiverse, the open multiverse with proper navigational tunnels and a defined way of how it works, or a major cliffhanger leading to Kang the Conqueror and subsequent future baddies. Let me know which one you think is the most possible, the most correct, the most likely in the comment section down below. If you made it to the very end of the video, let me know in the comment section down below and I'll give you a big old thank you. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on that notification bell if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys on the next upload right here on Cosmic Culture.